All right, for sure. What's up, fam? How
How
you
you
doing?
feeling, man?
Good, man. Just growing this beard out during this quarantine. Shit's going crazy.
Word. You're in Ramadan right now, right?
Yeah, fasting through it. Doing it right now, actually. 17 days in.
Fire. You've been doing Ramadan since you were a kid, like fasting,
Yeah, since like
celebrating.
13. Yeah, since I was like 10, 11 years old. Some years I've been inconsistent because some points I didn't like it, some points I did. So, when you get older, you realize the importance, and then you just apply it as much as you can. You know what I
Right.
mean?
No, for sure. Well, no, I'm happy that you took the time out to chat with me for a bit.
No, of course, it's been a
I
minute. I know
appreciate that, man.
last time we connected, we always have that in sync. You know what I mean? Like we have a like-minded thought process. So, and then also being, in relation to CV, like it all ties in. So
No,
I
for
don't see
sure.
why not. You get
No,
me?
of course, I appreciate it. Exactly.
Mhm.
And I
Yeah,
think, yeah, let's talk about kind of, I know you're big on health and things like that. So
yeah.
kind of thinking about, you've already been on the health game for the
Hmm.
most part. So, and seeing how people are now reacting to what's happening, right? They're taking more caution against how they want to interact with people. They're taking caution against eating meat, taking caution
Hmm.
against buying produce and things like that. So
Hmm.
um, kind of just as you I think beforehand got into the health game, what kind of impacted that? Was it just like you growing up in an environment which was like heavily influenced by eating good and eating well
Hmm.
and having certain ingredients and things of that nature on the table, or was it kind of I'm kind of going on this path and I'm recognizing that I need to change in my lifestyle and it's just adapting naturally? um,
Um, that's a good question because I grew up in a household when I was young. Both my parents would work, and we would find, conveniency of eating fast food or like eating stuff out because either my mom or dad didn't have time to cook when they get back home.
mhm.
So like, hey, I remember times of us going to Wendy's or BK or Pollo Tropical that we have down here. So especially in Miami. So like we had a very outdoor type atmosphere. I mean, we ate a lot at home, but I just remember as a kid, like
Eating
I
out.
gained I gained a lot of weight. Um, from eating out, and then even with the activities the physical activity I was having, um, I was still like gaining weight. Um, the one thing that influenced me to eat better was that in my family background we have a lot of diabetes and kidney issues.
Mm.
So I know like my dad's a type 2 diabetic. He takes insulin shots daily. Um, my mom, thank God, she's healthy. But my dad, like, I realized, like, hey, I'm not gonna wake up when I one day with my kids and I'm taking insulin shots in front of them. You know what I mean? Like, if it hurts me to see my dad do it, I don't want my kids to see
Taking
me
care of
do it.
that, right?
So I've always thought about like, hey, what's an alternative or preventative way, to live life? So for most, I should say, 19 to 20 years of my life, I wasn't strict on diet. I just knew like, hey, I have to eat, you know what I mean? But then
Mhm.
from 20 to 30, I started changing. When I got to 25, I became strict. I was like, yo, like I got a lot of years to catch up on. You get me? So I've always built around the motivation of my parents and my family's influence. One of my dad's older brothers, he had died from a kidney failure and
Mhm.
he was diabetic. He wasn't that physically active. They would have a bad diet. I mean, most cultural foods are high in carbs, high in fat, low in protein, and they're just like, trusting that as their diet, and which is what something I try to do is limit myself and actually understand, macronutrient intake and stuff like that. So my biggest concern has always been if I'm gonna change my diet, what's the biggest issue that I have? Is today going to be a day where I'm going to be very physically active? Then I plan ahead to prepare my diet. So like if today I'm not going to work out, I'm not going to eat much.
Mhm.
If tomorrow I know I'm going to work out and wake up, have
Mhm.
a loaded breakfast, kind of, I
Right.
can't be consistent every day eating a lot and then not having the calorie deficit because then it just adds on. You know what
Right.
I mean? So, but to your question, like my influence has been the the issues around my family and not trying to have that transition over to my next generation. You get me? So
Yeah,
just trying to stay on
yeah.
track. Yeah.
No, that's clear. And how'd you go on that journey? Did you just go online and say, "Oh, I'm gonna start researching and see if I
Um,
can be
you
better"?
know
Or
what's
was there
you know
someone
what's
around that you could pick off?
actually I didn't really have anybody at the time, because in that era when I was doing it, like I didn't really have social media when I wanted to change. My change came from when I got into high school and I saw the advantage that certain NBA players were talking about, like, hey, my diet helped me play better. So I thought about that. I was like, all right, let me change my diet a little bit. I stopped eating chips. I stopped eating fried stuff. Um, the basic, look at eating healthier, lean meat, vegetables. I ate more of those things. But then as I got along in my growth as an adult after college and being around homeopathic doctors and stuff like that, like I
Or were you
realized,
around homeopathic doctors?
oh yeah, I had a professor that was like chased down by the government. He told me like he was on some shit that he came up with a cure. He didn't want to tell me, and I was like, what? So, but he was kind of like crazy in the head, so I believe it, because usually people that come up with stuff like that, they're usually crazy. So he was kind of weird in a way, but I listened to him and he put me on a lot of stuff. There's
Mhm.
this book I'm reading right now called no, it's called Nutritional Healing, and
Mhm.
it's like a textbook, and it's got remedies for every human condition that you could think of. And I'm like, what? And it's funny because I came across this book. There's this barbershop down here, and in this barbershop, it's called The Spot. And when you go in there, it's weird because it's cool, but it's got library of books inside the barbershop. So
Really?
when you come, yeah, so when you come inside, that's their sophisticated
Approach.
decoration.
Got
Yeah,
it. So
it
you come
says
in, you
God
can
is
grab a
good.
book and read
Yeah,
it like
God is good everywhere. God is good. They have gear that says God is good. The vibe is tremendous. Right when you walk in, they got like a bar, right? And in that bar, they'd be like, hey, you want something to drink? They give it to you for free. You take a drink and then you wait for your haircut. Haircut's a little expensive, but I'll pay it because the vibe is just
of course
different.
you're getting the service, right? It's
Yeah, the service is elite. So when I'm getting my cut one day, I'm looking through the books and I'm asking him like, "Hey man, do you guys even read these books?" He's like, "Nah, they're just cats and dust. They're just there for decoration." Some people come look at stuff and then they just put it back. And I was like, "All right, cool." And then from a distance, man, in big letters, because when you stack a book in the library, you see the side of it.
Mhm.
It said nutritional something. I couldn't see the healing part, but I was like, it said nutritional. Hey, and I was like, I need to see that book after this cut. He was like, yeah, go ahead. So I went and I looked at the book. I pulled it out and I was just skimming through it. I didn't even read the cover. I was just skimming through it. I was like, bro, this is diamond. And then it's like it had stuff for diabetes. It had stuff for kidney failure. It had stuff even for eye issues. Like, oh, you got bad nails. Like, there's like so much stuff. I was like, bro, this is a gem. And I was like, dude, I went straight to the bar. Like, bro, what is it gonna take for me to get this book? Do I gotta pay? He's like, nah, just go take it. And I was like, all right, cool. So from
So
then on,
you got a gem for free.
for free. And I was like, you know what? The haircut was worth it too. So it's a win-win situation.
It was
So
a win-win.
yeah,
That's
so
so
even
good
if,
right
but
there.
what's crazy is like that homeopath. This is why I'm bringing that book up, is because that homeopathic doctor put me on a lot of stuff that was already in this
In
book.
the book. God.
And the book has uh, a preventative medicine approach to healing. So I always thought about
Not
like,
just
hey,
curing it, but
yeah,
implementing preventative measures as long and also
hmm
rebuilding the cells and etc.
yeah, and then it's so in detail. Like if I use sea moss, right, what benefits it has and what's the nutrient compound of it, and then it also shows the chemical dose of each reaction that it can cause. So like it got to more of a molecular level, and I was like, bro, this is like elite, you know what I mean? But I read it here. I haven't read the whole book because there's just so much information. So I just skim through stuff that I feel like I want to read, and I come across some stuff, and then I always think about what he told me was like, preventative medicine is the way, and preventative medicine is um, the approach that the government doesn't want majority to know. You get me? So I've always been about understanding the other side that's not
Right.
being told, as we all are. You get
Right.
me? As me and you, I should say, not everybody.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Um, so I've always been on the spectrum of understanding how to apply it with my budget, because it costs money, obviously, to eat healthy in this era. But also be able to control what others are going to consume. So, like, if I know I have an athlete that has a lot of money and he's eating well, he can always do better. So I've never forced anybody. I've always, like, made them aware of, like, hey, man, you should buy this supplement, help you out. You should buy this, you should buy that. I got more people on flax seeds now. They weren't aware about flax seeds. As simple as flax seeds is, it helps women and men with the testosterone and estrogen levels. So people that take that, I've just been schooling people in a way that, hey, like, don't get mad that you didn't know about this, but just start now. You get me? So, but yeah, like, this is like the homeopathic doctor, my personal research, and then applying it daily. That's been my biggest thing. And then, you're just trying to help others out. If it works for you, why not help others with it?
Of course, yeah. And that was gonna be my next question, basically on the athletes that you work with. I mean, people think that, athletes are probably one of the most healthiest people, or professional athletes have to be the most
No,
healthiest people
fact.
on the planet, right? And that could be a false stigma a lot of the time. Right? Like they're normal people and they may want to go out and eat fast food. They may want to drink soda. But at the end of the day, kind of it's all about that influence. And so how do you feel your influence has been, not only to kind of, in the nature of your work, right? You kind of influence kind of the the betterment of the athlete, and
No,
how do you feel that your influence is kind of impacting the way that you're able to connect with athletes beyond the court?
oh no, that's real. I have to first set an example of eating certain things that people are just like, yo, what the hell? Like, why are you eating that? Like, I'll go to a restaurant with my coaching staff or even with some of the players, and I look at the menu, and almost at every restaurant, there's always like only two things that I could get from that menu. It will either be a veggie burger or a vegan burger, or I'll get an appetizer that got a bunch of vegetables in it with hummus or something, right? So they'll see like, yo, why you order so many vegan burgers, bro? Like, why you then I have to educate them, like, why you should not eat cow meat, why you shouldn't eat this, why you shouldn't have dairy. And then new research study came out about dairy causing inflammation, to our joints. So a lot of players that restrict themselves from dairy have shown, great results. So, but I've always been around players that needed some help in regards to, because once they weren't raised on having a nutritionist, they get into the league, they get paid a lot of money. A nutritionist will tell them like, hey, they need to eat this. So they'll be like, yeah, I'll eat that. And then they'll find, a comfort zone of what they should and what they should not eat. But sometimes you got to get them to understand getting out of the comfort zone of their diet and then consuming stuff that can relate to longevity of their career. So, a few players that I've been around that hired me full time and they fly me out to places, we'll go to Ruth's Chris, we'll go to your STK restaurants, the fancy ones. And, I see them order big steaks, mashed, lobster mac and cheese, like, and then they'll look at my plate like, oh, this dude just got salmon and asparagus.
Right.
Like, what's up? And then, I try to emphasize the importance of, what they need to be eating the right way and not have too much of certain things that they shouldn't be. And then they've seen weight loss, they've seen progression on the course. So I think the biggest influence has been myself as an example.
Right.
And then
live an example.
Yeah, like my example is the bait. It's the actual bait for them to ask a question about it. You know what I mean? Because I'm never gonna be like, hey man, don't eat that steak, bro. Like, it ain't good for
and then you over there eating a burger.
you over there, I'm like, what? Like, nah, it don't work that way. So we want that. I know I let things marinate. I let it take time because nobody's gonna change their diet overnight.
Right.
Like that one time that I was vegan, completely vegan, I had instances where I had to like figure out how I wanted to go vegan. I couldn't just give it up all in one night. So I gradually, week by week, like, hey, I first started off taking away dairy. You know what I mean? All right, anything that's animal milk, animal breast milk, I'm not gonna drink it. That was the first start. Then a second was red meat. Then it was chicken. Then it was salmon. Then slowly got rid of stuff week by week. And then I was gradually at that pace where I was just like, yo, this is easily adaptable. It just takes time. So I think the biggest thing is if people want to make the change, they got to have the patience for it, but also understand like it really is a marathon, man. Like nothing can be done overnight.
Right. No, I think that's insightful. I mean, even for myself, I mean, I'm not the best. I don't have the best diet, but I
Hmm.
try to stay as healthy as I can and as active
Yeah.
as I can. But let's talk a little bit about how you're staying active right now, kind of in this quarantine, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, do you still have the luxuries of being able to access a gym and
But I myself, I take bike rides every so often. I have moments of my days where I'm reading more than being physically active. And there's one thing I was going to address to you that I just finished a website like last week. I'm starting a movement, and this movement is called the Breakfast Book Club. And what it is about is reading a chapter of a book, any book, before 12 p.m., more than 3 to 4 times a week. If you can do it daily, you're valid. So I wanted to start this initiative because, when I was an athlete, going into college, I didn't read much. So I was kind of behind my grade level when it came to reading. And I had to be like, yo, either I'm gonna read or not read. And at that time I was stubborn. I was all about hooping. I was a science guy. I didn't really care about, literature and things like that. So as I got older, I realized like, man, how important it is because, the way we construct conversation is all involved around what type of literacy you have an influence
right,
on.
right.
So, whether that comes down to the people that you're around that have good literature without you reading a book and you adapt, certain qualities of their language and their slang, I should say.
Mhm.
Or, I was just around a lot of hoopers that spoke a certain type of way, and we know how that type of talk is, and it just adapts in you. So my biggest thing was, if that happened to me and I was pretty locked in school, what can happen to a kid that has the literacy issues, that has a reading level issues,
Mhm.
that hey, we can go in there and impact them in a positive way of making reading cool again. So with this initiative, I have I would love for you to obviously be a part of it, and I have some pros that are gonna get involved. So what we're gonna do is that, to really start it off, there's introduction videos of 10 seconds, 15 seconds, and it's gonna be about who are you, what's your profession, as far as like that, and then what you're reading and why you're reading it. So
Mhm.
what book you're reading and why you're reading. So a simple book like that, simple concept, and then at the end be like, hey, I'm honored to be a part of the Breakfast Book Club. So then people will know like, okay, you know what, these guys are reading, a chapter, even half a chapter before 12 p.m.
Mhm.
every day. So this initiative is going to start sometime this week, and every Friday I'm putting out 5 to 10 people of those videos. So I want to have a log jam of like 50 people sending me videos,
No,
and
that's
I could just,
awesome.
yeah, I can
That's
spread
a
it over
great
time.
movement, man. Wait,
Yeah, but here's the
so
thing though. That's just. I guess I should say that's just a third of it.
mhm.
The second third of it is a charity a charity part of it, where I have a GoFund account on the website where people can donate money so I can buy books to provide to athletic programs, not just locally, but around the country. So if I know somebody in Colorado, right, that's a teacher, I'd be like, yo, I'm buying, how many basketball players you got in your program? Yo, we got 15. 15 men, 15 girls. Shit, that's 30. All right, look, I'm sending you 30 books of Only the Strong Survive about Allen Iverson. I
Mhm.
want them to read that. It's not just about Allen Iverson's biography, but it's about how he got through stuff. So I think that'll be a great read, and it'll be interesting because it's about basketball, and then it relates to them
Right.
reading something that might be interesting. So that's one of my goals too, is raise about 20 grand, and with the 20 grand, I could spend some money at each schools and send it out. You know what I mean? So like I know
Yeah, no,
people
that's
around the
awesome.
yeah, so I know people around the country. So that's like my biggest thing I'm working on right now, is not just me working out and stuff, but just trying to get this project running. And then the last third is when I put out gear, and I have a library of not just content to read, as far as library of books that, like, hey, what is LeBron James reading today? What if I got him involved, right? And then it'll be like, yo, LeBron James is reading this book every week, and everybody's gonna be like, damn, LeBron James reading that book. Let me get that book. And then I'll have a tab on the website where it shows how much it is and where to buy it. Um, but the main thing is also with the gear is that if I sell the gear with the logo and the concept of it, that you're part of the Breakfast Book Club, I'll take the profits of it and put that in the GoFund account. You
Got it.
get me?
Yep.
And then, then that'll be
The filtration.
yeah,
Yeah.
it'll just circulate. And then I'll have all that tied into starting the nonprofit organization right after all this. So once I get a rhythm, the biggest goal after is starting the nonprofit. And I know, like, since we live in an era right now that people are losing jobs, I think with the nonprofit, if I'm able to generate enough money, I can employ some people
For
so we
sure.
can have that, it can help
Yeah,
it can
no,
help
that
the economy out.
man, what inspired this idea? First of all, first and foremost, I'm happy to be a part of it any way that you like
Mm-hmm.
me to be. And obviously, I mean, you can see I have a whole shelf
Yeah, I
of
mean, you're a
books.
reader, so I know, like, it's gonna come
Yeah, that's
about.
actually been so. It's funny you mentioned that because my I only had one New Year's resolution this year, and I'm already failing at it. This month is that, or the past 2 months rather, was to basically finish a book a month, and
Mm-hmm.
so that was the only resolution I had, and
Mm-hmm.
basically now I'm at the point where, like you said, I'm kind of trying to find that motivation again with
Mm-hmm.
kind of all the things that I'm working on and still being busy to kind of at least even read a chapter. And I feel like I could fit a chapter into my day. So
Mm-hmm.
happy
Yeah,
to
a
be
simple
part of this.
chapter, man. I'm not even trying to force people. Like, when you give people, I've realized one thing, especially with kids, training them.
Mm-hmm,
I can't have a kid learn a jump shot overnight. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm,
So I would have to work on, techniques in the paint and take their time. I'm not gonna like, I've had a kid that I've worked with, and he was like, "Coach, why haven't I shot 3-pointers yet?" Like, I went 2 weeks without him shooting 3-pointers, but I just worked on his habits in the paint, in the
mm-hmm.
mid-range game. Nothing even deep mid-range, just in that area, because I felt like if he can master that for 2-3 weeks, then he can go to the next stage. Because you
Right,
want to give kids a short-term goal before they get to the 3-point line, I should say.
right.
So I think with this, especially in the NBA, since they used to have this initiative called Read to Achieve back
Mm-hmm.
then, they don't have that no more.
Oh
And
wow.
yeah, so back then I would always think about, like, oh wow, man, it's so cool to read. Like, these players are going, like, they're doing it. They still read in front of classes and stuff, but it's not called Read to Achieve. It's called NBA Cares, and that falls into
Yeah, I
that
was gonna
umbrella.
say NBA cares. Yeah.
Yeah, so that falls into that umbrella that they care about everything, not just reading. So I was like, all right, you know what? Let's make this a short-term, goal-based oriented approach. So if a kid knows, like, hey, you and I, or even an NBA player that I know, they're reading a chapter a day.
Mm-hmm.
There's 4 categories of these books that they're going to read from: mental development, physical development, spiritual development, and leisure reading. So if a kid feels like he needs to work on his mental, I have a list of books, who's reading what. Some kid needs to work on his spirit, boom, a list of that.
Right.
And then if some kids are already cool with all 3, mental, physical, and spiritual, yo, I need some nonfiction leisure reading book.
Mm-hmm.
Boom, like, hey, we
Need
got
some Harry
this.
Potter. Yeah.
Yeah, this is Harry Potter. Which ones? You know what I mean? So, but that's a grand scale of categorizing it,
Yeah.
and then having people understand, like, hey, this book is in relation to this category.
Right.
Understand that. So this influence came about when I see nowadays on social media how everybody's talking about working out. Like, hey, work out from home, do this, do that. Like, everybody, it's a fad now. Like, it's cool. Like, hey, stay in shape. Being physical is great. Being fit and being in physically shape is great. But I think the mental part is what some people can't get over to get to that physical part. So if I realize, like, the struggles that I had as a reader, and I even took, like, intensive reading classes in high school, and I realized, like, damn, I should have read more. I gotta find a way to solve this problem for the next generation. Even if somebody that's a current college student, or even somebody that graduated and still wants to improve their reading literacy, I think that comes down to understanding, like, hey, there is a culture-based approach to this that we can apply.
Right.
If everybody wants to look at somebody working out and posting a video of them working out, why not discuss about stuff we can read as well? And I
Right.
think that's the biggest influence, is because not everybody's going to be a pro, but we can all be a pro at reading,
Okay.
and there's
Right.
no excuse for that. You know what I mean? So, and I think the more we educate kids that way, with that common knowledge and that common attribution of, like, hey, this is cool now. Like, it's okay to read a chapter a day before 12, and then you can go hoop after 12 all day, all you want, play your Call of Duty, whatever it is, for the
Mm-hmm.
rest of the day after 12. But before 12, I even have articles on this website that I posted why morning reading is beneficial.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and if you read in the evening, what type of books you should be reading in the evening that your mind can attribute to, because you're already fatigued mentally through the day, what type of books you can read. So I have 3 articles I put on there. I'll send you the website. You check it out.
Yeah, send it to me.
Yeah, so that's the goal I have right now, is just pushing that project, working with a small amount of clientele, keeping myself physically active, and then just go from there.
That's
You know what I mean?
awesome. Well, yeah, like I said, I'm happy to help in any way. So yeah,
Mhm.
once this comes out, I'll definitely include it in the on the screen when people see
Yeah,
it.
for
So
sure.
that way, so
No,
like
that would be great.
definitely for sure. No, but I know.
Mhm.
I mean, I think we've been on here for a minute, so I just want to thank you. I'll wrap it up now because I know you probably got a day ahead of you and you want to enjoy the rest of your
No, I
Sunday.
made my time. I mean, shit, if you got more stuff to ask, I got time for it. But, you know, I'm always here. You know, I'm trying to get, you know, this thing pushing by this week, and then I'll send you some stuff now, get your input and feedback. And then if you know anybody else that is in your circle that will be interested in being involved,
For sure.
um, let me know, because it's going to take a village to make this thing work. You
Of
know what I mean?
course.
So, and then we'll just go from there. I think it'll be
Awesome.
great. That's my biggest push right now, is just making this book club a norm.
No, that's awesome, and I'm down for that. I like that mission. I'm happy to
Hmm.
help you, bro. Well, thank you for joining me on Money Combos and having just a genuine conversation as usual.
Nah, I appreciate it. You know, I'm always here. Should have an episode 2. I'm with it, and we just change things up and update each other. That'll be
All
great.
right. Yeah, no, I'm down for an episode too. I'll hold you to that. All
Nah,
right,
let's
Diego.
do it. I
All right,
appreciate you.
take it easy. Enjoy the
Yes,
rest of your Sunday.
you too. Have a good one.